teach first and second grades at Echo Ridge School.
And I'm Sara Griesert, and I teach grades 3, 4, and 5 at Echo Ridge Christian School. And this is my third year doing Saluting New Readers. We hope you enjoy.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn, and I will be reading Jocelyn.
It's okay.
Jesus helps his dead. Jesus loved to help his dead. Jesus helped him every day. Jesus picked up the wood, shaves his dead, said thank you. Jesus picked up the pegs. His dad said thank you. Jesus picked up the hammer. His dad said thank you. Jesus picked up the saw. His dad said thank you. Jesus swept the floor. His dad said thank you. One day, Dad said, "You can hammer today. You can do it. Yes, you can." "Thank you, Dad," Jesus said. "Yes, I can."
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me to. Thank you for reading with me.
That's good. Come on, cheer.
Hello, my name is Grace, and I'll be reading Because a Bug Would Cut You. You may not believe it, but here's how it happened. One fine summer morning, a little bug sneezed, cut Chew. Because of that sneeze, a seed dropped. Because of that seed drop, the worm got hit. Because he got hit, the worm got mad. Because he got mad, he hit a tree. Because of that kick, a coconut dropped. Because the nut dropped, a turtle got bumped. Because he got bumped, the turtle named Jake fell on his back with a splash in the lake. Because of that splash, the hen got wet. Because she got wet, the hen got mad. Because she got mad, she hit a bucket. Because of that kick, the bucket went up. Because it went up, the bucket came down. Because it came down, it hit Farmer Brown, and that bucket got stuck on his head. Because it got stuck, Farmer Brown phoned for help. Because of his phone call, policemen came speeding. Because they were speeding, they hit a big stone. And so one policeman flew up all alone. Because he flew up, he had to come down. And because he came down on Mary Lou, and because he hit hard, he went all right through. He made a hole in the boat Mary Lou because of that hole, the boat started to sink. And because it was sinking, well, what do you think? Everyone started to yell, and Mrs. Brown called for more help. Thank you for listening to me to read.
No, your name. Your name.
Sam. April and Annie had had 10 pies to sell, but on her way out the door, 1 pie fell. Oh well, that's just fine. I don't have 10, but I still have 5. Apron Annie had 9 pies to sell, but on her way out the gate, 1 pie fell. Oh well, I'll just shut the gate. I don't have 9, but I still have 8. Apron Annie had 8 pies to sell, but when she got in her car, 1 pie fell. Oh well, thank heaven. I don't have 8, but I still have 7. Apron Annie had 7 pies to sell, but as she turned the corner, 1 pie fell. Oh well, there's a pie I can't fix. I don't have 7, but I still have 6. Apron Annie had 6 pies to sell, but when she crossed the street, 1 pie fell. Oh well, I'm still alive. I don't have 6, but I still have 5. Apron Annie had 5 pies to sell, but when she walked past the dogs, 1 pie fell. Oh well, that's just like before. I don't have 5, but I still have 4. Apron Annie had 4 pies to sell, but as she walked past the park, 1 pie fell. Oh well, from what I can see, I don't have 4, but I still have 3. Apron Annie had 3 pies to sell, but on her way to the market, 1 pie fell. Oh well, I'm feeling blue. I don't have 3, but I still have 2. Apron Annie had 2 pies to sell, but on her way to the pie stand, 1 pie fell. Oh well, this is not fun. I don't have 2, but I still have 1. Apron Annie had 1 pie to sell, but she was hungry, so she said, oh well.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to me read.
Thank you for listening to me read. Hello, my name is Sydney, and I'm going to be reading 6 Fine Fish. Anytime rain or shine, fish swim in the sea. Big fish, little fish, wide fish, thin fish. Here are 6 fine fish. This little fish has black and white stripes. The stripes help the little fish hide from the big fish. This is 1 fine fish with stripes. This big fish is a wide fin on each side. The fish flaps its wide fins to swim through the sea. This is 1 fine fish with 2 wide fins. This big fish is puffed up like a ball. It has sharp spikes all over it. The sharp spikes tell other fish to stay away. This is 1 fine fish with sharp spikes. This long fish is very, very thin. It can fit in small places. It can hide in the rocks. This is 1 fine fish that is very, very thin. This little fish looks like a small horse. It has a long tail that turns up. It can cling to the seaweed with its tail. This is 1 fine fish with a turned up tail. This big fish has a lot of sharp teeth. These sharp teeth can really bite. This is 1 fine fish with sharp teeth. Thank you for listening to me read. Hello, my name is Lauren, and I'll be reading The 2 Foolish Cats. Long ago, at the edge of a dark pine forest in Japan, there lived 2 cats named Dazzle and Suki. Because Dazzle was big and fierce, and he had 7 toes on each paw, he was called Big Dazzle. Because Suki was small and skinny, he was called Little Suki. When the field mice saw Big Dazzle swishing his tail and stalking through the tall grass, They ran to hide in their tiny holes. They were afraid of Big Dazzle, for they knew he could pounce on them with his 7-toed paws and swallow them in one gulp for dinner. The birds of the forest were afraid of Little Suki, for they knew that if he caught them, he would surely gobble them down in a minute. The two cats got on quite well and hunted together each day in the meadows and streams. One spring morning, when the snow had melted from the mountains and the meadows were turning green, they went out to catch some field mice for breakfast. They hunched low in the tall grass, waiting and watching, silent and still. But the field mice saw the two cats waiting for them. "Not for anything will we go out today," they whispered, and they huddled safe in their cozy nests. Soon Little Suki grumbled, "Those field mice are never coming out. Let's go catch some fish instead." So the two cats raced as fast as they could to the stream at the edge of the meadow. Big Dazzle plunged first into the icy waters. Splash! Splash! He pounced on a silvery trout. But the fish was much too fast for him. It shimmered and slipped away swiftly down the mountain stream. "You are much too slow," Little Suki scoffed. "You must be quick and clever like me. Watch!" And Little Suki jumped into the stream, his short collar spread, his whiskers twitching. Splat! Splash! Thank you for listening to me read. If you want to hear the rest of the story, please check it out at your local library. Hi, I'm Kristen, and I'm going to be reading The Lizard and the Sun. The whole world knows that the sun comes out every day. Some days it shines brightly in a clear blue sky. Other days the clouds cover the sun and its light is much paler. When the clouds let loose their load of rain, the sun disappears behind a curtain of water. There are places where it snows. During a snowstorm, the sun also stays hidden. But even when clouds, rain, or snow hide the sun, we know that it's still there. The story I'm going to tell you happened a long, long time ago when the sun had really disappeared. It had been many days since the sun had come out. Everything was dark. All the plants, the animals, and the people were waiting anxiously for the sun to appear. But the sun did not come out, and everything remained in darkness. The people were cold. The birds had stopped singing, and the children had stopped playing. Everyone was worried and afraid, for this had never happened before. The animals decided to go out in search of the sun. The fish and the turtles looked in rivers and lakes, but the sun was not there. The green frogs and the wide-mouthed toads looked through all the puddles, but the sun was not there. The deers and the squirrels searched through the forests, but the sun was not there. The rabbits and the hares searched through the fields. The jaguar searched through the green jungle where he lives, but the sun was nowhere to be found. The birds had searched through the branches where they had made their nests. The majestic eagle flew over the mountaintops and the cones of volcanoes. But no one could find the sun, and little by little, all of the animals stopped looking, all of them except for the lizard. The lizard kept on looking for the sun. She climbed rocks, scurried up tree trunks, and peered under leaves, searching, always searching. Finally, one day she saw something very strange. She was scampering over some rocks when she saw that one of them was shining as though it had a light inside. The lizard had seen many rocks in her life. She had seen rocks that were smooth and polished, and rocks that were rough and sharp. Thank you for listening to me read. If you'd like to hear the rest of the story, please check it out at your local library. Hi, my name is Lex, and I'll be reading the Camp Meeting Mystery. Chapter 1, Arriving. Molly and Malott stared out of the motorhome window. Maddie, Sierra, and Molly had been playing Barbies just because they were bored. "Molly, come on, my girl just asked you as a question," Maddie and Malott exclaimed. "You need to pay more attention." "I'm sorry, Maddie, I just don't feel like playing right now. I'm so excited. I wonder what mysteries Camp Meeting holds." Molly exclaimed. "What are mysteries like, Molly? I mean, what did you do with Hallie?" Sierra Campbell asked. We look for my lost artifacts, that's all. I'm just so excited, but I can't
so I can't do anything but wait. I'm dying to see Nicole and Gabby and look for frogs and salamanders, Molly exclaimed. I know, me too, Sara replied. Molly was on her way to camp meeting with her little sister Maddie and her best friend Sara. She and another friend Hallie had solved a mystery before, and now Molly and Sara had wanted to find a mystery of their own, but they decided they would want to do it with Nicole and Gabby at camp meeting. What's this whole mysteries business? I mean, you're getting all your hopes up. It's starting to get freaky, and I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night in the motorhome with a robber stealing all of our forks, Maddie exclaimed sarcastically and loudly like her usual self. Molly and Sara laughed. You're right, we are getting our hopes up, but just remember there is a mystery everywhere, and whether it's down to the smallest missing soap to the largest missing jewelry, we'll find a mystery with the hundreds of people at camp meeting, Sara said, still laughing. You're right, Sara, there are mysteries everywhere, but some are boring, like a missing soap that could be under the sink, Molly exclaimed. But some are interesting, like missing jewels. That's a real mystery. That would be so neat. I hope we can find a mystery like that. Me too, Molly. I hope that we are going to find ourselves a great mystery, Sara replied. Camp meeting was held in the redwoods. There were great rivers and creeks to catch frogs and divisions for kids to learn about God. Thank you for listening to me read. If you'd like to hear the rest of the story, check it out at your local library in a year or so.
Hello, my name is Rafe, and I'll be reading The Voyage of the Dawn Trader. Chapter 1, The Picture in the Bedroom. There was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrub, and he almost deserved it. His parents called him Eustace Clarence, and his masters called him Scrub. I can't tell you how his friends spoke to him, for he had none. He didn't call his father and mother, but Harold and Alberta. They were very up-to-date and advanced people. They were vegetarians, non-smokers, teetotalers, and wore a special kind of underclothes. In their house, there was very little furniture and very few clothes on beds, and the windows were always open. Eustace Clarence liked animals, especially beetles, if they were dead and pinned on a card. Well, he liked books if they were books of information and had pictures of grain elevators or of fat foreign children doing exercises in model schools. Eustace Clarence disliked his cousins, the four Pevensies, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, but he was quite glad when he heard that Edmund and Lucy were coming to stay, for deep down inside him, he liked bossing and bullying, and though he was a puny little person who couldn't even stand up to Lucy, let alone Edmund, in a fight, he knew that there are dozens of ways to give people a bad time if you are in your own home and they are only visitors. Edmund and Lucy did not at all want to come and stay with Uncle Harold and Aunt Alberta, but it really couldn't be helped. Father had got a new job lecturing in America for 16 weeks that summer, and Mother was going to go with him because she hadn't had a real holiday for 10 years. Peter was working very hard for an exam, and he was to spend the holidays being coached by old Professor Kirk, in whose house these four Pevensie children had wonderful adventures long ago in the war years. If he had still been in that house, he would have had them all to stay. But he had somehow become poor since the old days and was living in a small cottage with only one bedroom to spare. It would have cost too much money to take the other three all to America, and Susan had gone. Grown-ups thought her pretty one of the family. Thank you for listening to me read, and if you want to read the rest of the story, check this out at your local library.
Pickles. Once upon a time, there was a yellow cat with black spots in his fur. His name was Pickles. Pickles was a young cat. His paws were big, and he wished to do big things with them. But where could Pickles find anything to do? Pickles lived in a barrel. The barrel was all that he had for a home. Pickles' barrel was in an old yard where there was nothing to do. So what did Pickles do? He ran after little cats. He ran after every little cat that came into the yard. And he chased the little cat out of the yard. This was bad. This was a bad thing. But it was all that Pickles could find to do. Next to Pickles' yard was a house. In the house lived many cats who called out to Pickles, "You are bad. You cannot be our friend." But Pickles did have a friend in the house. His friend was Mrs. Goodkind. Every day, Mrs. Goodkind came into the yard and gave Pickles something to eat. One day, Mrs. Goodkind said, "Pickles, you are not a bad cat. You are not a good cat. You are good and bad and good. You are a mixed-up cat. What you need is a good home. Then you will be a good cat." Mrs. Goodkind picked up the mixed-up cat. She took him into her home to live. In Mrs. Goodkind's home, there was a pretty chair for Pickles to sit on. There were toys for him to play with. And Pickles did not want to sit on the pretty chair. He did not want to play with the toys. So he ran back to his burrow in the yard, and he began to chase the little cats again. Mrs. Goodkind said to Pickles, "Things cannot go on like this. Something will happen." The next day, Pickles chased a little cat up an old tree. He climbed after her. Pickles sat up in the tree near the little cat. He would not let her climb down. Thank you for listening to me read. If you would like to hear the rest of the story, check it out at your local library.
Yay! Yay!
Hello, my name is Adam and I will be reading My Side of the Mountain. I hole up in a snowstorm. I am on my mountain in a tree home that people have passed without ever knowing that I am here. The house is a hemlock tree 6 feet in diameter and must be as old as the mountain itself. I came upon it last summer and dug and burned it out until I made a snug cave in the tree that I now call home. My bed is on the right as you enter and is made of ash slats and covered with deerskin. On the left is a small fireplace about knee-high. It is of clay and stones. It has a chimney that leads the smoke out through a knothole. I chipped out 3 other knotholes to let fresh air in. The air coming in is bitter cold. It must be below 0 outside. And yet I can sit here inside my tree and write with bare hands. The fire is small too. It doesn't take much fire to warm this tree home. It is the 4th of December, I think. It may be the 5th. I am not sure because I have not recently counted the notches in the aspen pole. That is my calendar. I have been just too busy gathering nuts and berries, smoking venison, fish, and small game to keep up with the exact date. The lamp I am writing by is deer fat poured into a turtle shell with a strip of my old city trousers for a wick. It snowed all day yesterday and today. I have not been outside since the storm began, and I am bored for the first time since I ran away from home 8 months ago to live on the land. I am well and healthy. The food is good. Sometimes I eat turtle soup, and I know how to make acorn pancakes. I keep my supplies in the wall of the tree in wooden pockets that I chop myself. Every time I have looked at those pockets during the last 2 days, I have felt just like a squirrel. Which reminds me, I didn't see a squirrel 1 whole day before that storm began. I guess they are holed up and eating their stored nuts too. I wonder if the Baron, that's the wild weasel who lives behind the big boulder to the north of my tree, is also denned up. Well, anyway, I think the storm is dying down because the tree is not crying so much. When the wind really blows, the whole tree moans right down to the roots, which is where I am. Tomorrow, I hope the Baron and I can tunnel out into the sunlight. I wonder if I should dig the snow, but that would mean I would have to put it somewhere, and the only place to put it is in my nice snug tree. Maybe I can pack it with my hands as I go. I've always dug into the snow from the top, never up from under. The Baron must dig up from under the snow. Thank you for listening to me read. If you want to hear the rest of the story, check it out at your local library.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Alex, and I am going to be going to read Snow Treasure by Mary McSwiggan. Beat you to the turn, Peter Lundstrom shot as he slid down the long, steep slope. No fair, you started first, his friend Michael Bird protested. Nevertheless, he flew along in Peter's tracks. School was over for the day, at least, and Peter and Michael were enjoying one of the sled rides the children of Norway never seemed to tire of. At the turn, they paused for a breath, but their rest was short, for Peter spied another sled. Look out, here come the girls. With that, he headed down another slope, his friend behind him. Peter was 12 and felt grown up. Playing with girls was something he meant never to do. Heavy clothes hid all but his yellow hair and his face. His eyes were clear and brown. Wide apart and in an even line, they looked untroubled. Michael, the same age, seemed different in everything else. While Peter was tall and slender, Michael was square. His hair was tow and his eyes were the bright blue that is often called typically Scandinavian. Hey, wait a minute. A dark-eyed girl drove her sled into the place the boys had just left. Her black curls bobbed like sausages under the cherry red of her hood. She was Helga Thompson, and somewhat of a tomboy. Behind her on the same sled was a smaller girl, whereas Helga was dark. The smaller girl was Louisa, Peter's 10-year-old sister. We'll catch them at the lookout. Hold on. Helga dug her heels into the snow and began another swift descent. Catch them at the lookout. They did, for the sled track made a sharp twist, and below that, nearly 1,000 feet, lay the sea. Peter and Michael had to slow down to avoid crashing a wall that protected the road. Helga, daring as any boy, drove straight at them, and there was a clamor of yells and a tingle of windbreakers, caps, sweaters, and mittens. There never had been such a winter for snow. It began early, and with each month grew higher and higher on the ground. April was like January, with no sign of thaw. From one end of Norway to the other, people talked of nothing else. They only stopped talking about it when something entirely terrifying drove it from their minds. Then they remembered it again and looked to it to help them in their trouble. Up in the Arctic Circle, where these children lived, it was winter for much of the year. Thank you for listening to me read. If you want to hear the rest of the story, please check it out at your local library.
Hello, my name is Sara, and I'll be reading Robert and the Great Pepperoni. Settle down, children, said Miss Bethel to the class one morning. I have good news. We're going on a trip. A class trip? Robert closed his eyes and tried to send a thought to Miss Bethel by telepathy. Dinosaurs, please let it be dinosaurs. The Natural History Museum had a new exhibit he was dying to see. His best friend Paul was probably wishing just as hard for the planetarium. Paul loved anything to do with space. We're going to be one of the first classes to use the new climbing wall in Forest Park, said Miss Bethel, clapping her hands in front of her. Robert frowned and opened his eyes. What's a climbing wall? Called out Lester Willis. It's like a slide of a very steep mountain. It has fingers and toe holds, and you have to make your way up the wall, said Suzanne Lee Rogers. What if you fall? Asked Melissa Thumb. Melissa was afraid of everything. You won't fall, said Miss Bethel. You're wearing a harness that would keep you from falling. When are we going? Asked Kevin. A week from Wednesday, said Miss Bethel. Your parents have to sign a permission bring it in by Friday, a week from today. She went around the room handing out slips of paper to climbing walls. The climbing wall sounds like fun, said Robert, as he and Paul walked home. Together, they almost walked home always walked unless it was rained. Then they rode the school bus. I saw a National Geographic special on mountain climbing, said Paul. A man got killed. He fell a gazillion feet down from the mountain. You think the wall's dangerous? Asked Robert. They wouldn't let us go if it was, would they? Let's look. Thank you for listening to me read. If you want to hear the rest of the story, please check it out at your local library.
My name is Chelsea and I'm going to be reading Germs Make Me Sick. You wake up one morning but you don't feel like getting out of bed. Your arms and legs ache. Your head hurts. You have a fever and your throat is sore. I'm sick, you say. I must have caught a germ. Everyone knows that germs can make you sick, but not everyone knows how. Germs are tiny, tiny living beings. They are far too small to see with your eyes alone. In fact, a line of 1,000 germs could fit across the top of a pencil. There are many different kinds of germs, but the two that usually make you sick are bacteria and viruses. Bacteria are really very small plants, but they don't look like any plants you know. Under a microscope, some bacteria look like little round balls. Others are as straight as rods. Still others are twisted in spiral shapes. Viruses are far tinier than bacteria. Some look like balls with spikes sticking out on all sides. Others look like loaves of bread or like tadpoles. There are even some that look like metal screws with spider legs. Germs such as bacteria and viruses are found everywhere. They are in the air you breathe, in the food you eat, in the water you drink, and on everything you touch. Although germs are all around, they do not always make you sick. Many germs are not harmful. Also, your body keeps germs out most of the time. Your skin blocks the germs as long as there are no cuts or scratches on your skin. Germs can't get in. Your nose helps too. It is lined with tiny hairs. The hairs catch many of the germs you breathe in. They push them back out. The inside of your mouth and throat is always wet. Germs often get stuck there. Thank you for listening to me read. If you'd like to hear the rest of the story, check it out at your local library.
My name is Maddie Malott, and I'm going to be reading Megan and Snowstorm by Molly Malott. Chapter 1, A Tiger. Megan Stripe was a 10-year-old girl. Her father owned a zoo. He sometimes would be gone for a month or more, capturing animals for his zoo. Megan loved animals. Whenever she would see her father's white truck with a trailer on the end come in the driveway, she would run to see what animal her daddy had brought in. Megan had an older sister and a younger sister and a very big brother. Connie, 4, her younger sister, was too young to play. Susie, 15, her older sister, was too old to play. Richard, 24, was much too old to play. He had been gone for months at home with his wife. Megan missed him a lot. But she was not upset at all. She found good games. They weren't really games at all. She would help her father with the animals. Well, it seemed like a game. One day, her father left saying a long goodbye. He walked out the door and didn't return for 3 months. Megan missed him so much. One day, she saw a white truck drive in. "Daddy is home," she said, running out to greet him. "What did you bring? Anything?" she asked. "Yes, a very untamable white Siberian tiger," he said. "Oh, Daddy, you shouldn't have. They're endangered," Megan exclaimed. "Megan, you don't understand. If it stays out in the wild, poachers will get it for its fur," Megan's father said. "What are poachers?" Megan asked. "Hunters that hunt animals that are illegal to hunt," he said. "So you're saving it?" Megan asked. "Yes, Megan. I got this one from a place in India that preserves tigers," he said. "I signed a paper that was a promise saying I would never harm or endanger this animal. Do you see now?" "Yes," Megan said, giving him a big hug. I want you to understand one more important thing, he said. Not to be a poacher, Megan asked. No, that's a good thing to understand, but there's another thing I want you to remember. Don't ever go near it. It's very dangerous, Megan's father said in a firm voice. How will I feed it? Megan asked. You won't. I will. It's very dangerous. Do you understand? Yes, Daddy, I won't go near it. Is it a boy or a girl? Megan asked. A girl, I believe. Megan's father said with a smile. Can I name her? Megan asked. Well, I suppose. There's no harm in that. May I see her to name her? Megan asked. Megan's father lifted her up so she could see through the little holes in the trailer. I'll name her Snowstripe because she's white like snow and has stripes. And Stripe is her last name. Thank you for listening to me read. If you'd like to listen to the rest of the story, look for it in stores when it gets published.
Yeah!
Hello, my name is Zach, and I will be reading Pirates Past Noon. Chapter 4, Vile Booty. Jack started to run across the hot sand. He ran as fast as he could, but the pirates ran faster. Before Jack knew it, the biggest pirate had grabbed him. Jack struggled, but the pirate had huge, strong arms. He held on to Jack and laughed a mean, ugly laugh. He had a shaggy black beard. A patch covered one eye. Jack heard Annie yelling. He saw her coming down the rope ladder. Stay where you are, Jack shouted. But Annie kept coming. Leave him alone, you bully, she cried. The other two pirates laughed meanly. They were dirty and ragged. Annie charged up to the biggest pirate. Let him go, she said. She hit the pirate with her fist and kicked him. But the pirate just growled. Then he grabbed her, too. And with his giant hands, he held Jack and Annie as if they were two kittens. No one escapes Captain Bones, he roared. His breath was terrible. Let go, Annie shouted into his face, but Captain Bones just smiled. All his teeth were black. Annie fell silent. Captain Bones laughed loudly. Then he turned to the other two. Find out what's in their house, you dogs, he said. Aye, aye, Captain, they answered, and they started up the ladder to the treehouse. What do you spy, Pinky? Shouted Captain Bones. Books, Captain, Pinky shouted down. Ah, books, growled Captain Bones. He spit on the sand. I want gold, you dogs. Dogs are nicer than you, said Annie. Shh. Thank you for listening to me read. If you would like to finish the book, check it out at your local library.
Hello, my name is Timothy, and I'm going to read Mummies in the Morning by Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 4, Back from the Dead. Jack pulled Annie down. The white figure moved swiftly past them. They then disappeared into the shadows. Hey, Mummy, said Annie, back from the dead. Forget it, stammered Jack. Mummies aren't alive. He picked up the Egypt book. What's this? Said Annie. She lifted something from the floor. Look, the mummy dropped this thing. It was a gold stick, about a foot long. A dog's head was carved on one end. It looks like a scepter, said Jack. What's that? Asked Annie. It's a thing kings and queens carry, said Jack. It means they have power over the people. Come back, Mommy, said Annie.
called Annie. We found your scepter. Come back. We want to help you. Shush, said Jack. Are you nuts? But the mummy. That was no mummy, said Jack. It was a real person. And I mean real. What kind of person would be inside a pyramid? Asked Annie. I don't know, said Jack. Maybe the book can help us. He flipped through the book. At last he found a picture of a person in a pyramid. He read, tomb robbers often carry off the treasures buried with mummies. False pages were sometimes built to stop the robbers. Jack closed the book. No live mummy, he said. Just a tomb robber. Yikes, a tomb robber, said Annie. Yeah, a robber who steals stuff from tombs. But what if the robber comes back, said Annie. We'd better leave. Right, said Jack. But first I want to write something down. He put the Egypt book in his pack. He pulled out his notebook and pencil. He started writing in his notebook, tomb robber. Jack, said Annie. Just a second, said Jack. He kept writing, tomb robber tried to steal. Jack, look, said Annie. Thank you for listening to me read. If you want to read the rest of the story, please check it out at your local library.
What do you love?
Reading!
And where do you go to school?
X-XX-2010 School!
And what grade are you in?